TikTok does not make influencers. TikTok makes creators. And I do think part of Emma's anxiety is watching how many creators can become popular on the app that offering much more than a sanitized white lens of day-to-day life. I'm Julesy and we're back again for another video. And as you know, or if you don't know because you're new here, this video is definitely brought to you by Audible. And if you are new to Audible and haven't tried them out at all, get your first 30 days free by using my link audible.com/Julesy or text Julesy to 500-500. And again, get your first month free. And if you're new here, definitely come on over to the SBG book club. That is my book club where we curate readings around Black literature that engage you in a community with deeper intellectual dives into our monthly selections. And I'm actually using Audible this month. I am so very excited because I'm ahead of the book club, but I'm reading our September and October selection, Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse. Rebecca Roanhorse is an Afro-Indigenous author, and this is actually our second book that we are reading by her, and I believe it's part of a trilogy series that she's building out. The first part of the trilogy we read, was it a year or two ago? Black Sun. And it is, and like when I tell you 10 out of 10, 20 out of 10, it is like a movie, the Audible version of the book. Listening to that book on Audible was the best part of my life at that time. And so now I am super excited to get into Fevered Star on Audible, the dramatic reading, the different voice actors that come in and portray each character in the book. It is such a good, really, if you're looking for a good book, you like sci-fi thrillers, you want to release from the day-to-day stresses of life, come on over to the SBG book club, join us for sure, and then pick up a Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse on Audible after you use my Audible link, audible.com/Julesy or text Julesy 500-500. And of course, there's 1,000,001 original selections on Audible, original podcasts, original series, and a great selection of books to choose from and Audible treats, okay? Don't miss out. And shout out to Audible for allowing me to do this video. Now let's get into the tea, the key, the discussion, because this is essentially a response to Emma Chamberlain's podcast, Anything Goes, in which back in May, she did like a 3-part episode series discussing her claims that influencer culture is dead. And yes, I did go back and listen to all 3 episodes of this podcast because on the TL, I saw so much discourse that in response to Emma Chamberlain making these claims, people were like, aha, yes, it makes so much sense. And I have to say, a hearty har, I don't know that I agree. Now, the first podcast episode that Emma does on this topic is entitled There's a Culture Shift Coming. And it's pretty much really, if you want to go back and listen, it's the only episode that you really do need to listen to because it does give the crux of what she's discussing. She focuses on influencers in this conversation. The second episode is on celebrities. A third, I don't even remember it because it wasn't really that important. But Anything Goes, Emma's podcast, literally is just a stream of consciousness from her. There's no guest. There's no features. There's nobody else's voice that you hear across any of these episodes. It literally sounds like Emma is sitting in her bed and just giving thoughts off the top of her head. Much like me when I wake up in the morning. You know, I have a Gemini rising, so I do wake up ready to kind of have a conversation. And it literally is giving me Gemini rising vibe. Like she woke up, she grabbed the podcast mic. Look, I have one right here. And she immediately just started riffing about this idea of influencer culture and how she believes it's dead. It's been over commodified and basically this argument of oversaturation. But let's get into the particulars of what she discussed and then my thoughts, because I have a lot of thoughts that came from this. Emma says that social media originally started as a small community. Becoming internet famous was a thing that you typically did on YouTube. And that is what Emma Chamberlain did on YouTube. Sometime in the mid to late 2010s, I remember Emma Chamberlain's arrival on YouTube. She was a young thin white girl, a little quirky, but still pretty, drank a lot of coffee. And she was hanging out with, I don't know, who were the white boys du jour at that time, you know? Like the precursor to the TikTok house. It was like everyone in LA, do they live together? Do they not live together? Like we're in California, it's sunny, we're white, we're cute, and we're skinny, and our kitchen's really nice. Hey, wealth aesthetics. Yeah. And even by her own admission, she doesn't have any traditional talent. And that's how she became famous. You know, it's a thing called watch whiteness work. Emma does not say that, but I was receiving that. Okay? I received that. Now, she also makes the claim that with mainstream celebrity, traditionally there was a mystique, a mystery about them. And honestly, every time she talks about celebrity throughout the 3 podcast episodes, she constantly relies on this definition of celebrity as a thing of mystery that has now evaporated. And I think what she's talking about in that instance is parasocial relationships. That because of social media and because of the requirement that now even for celebrities, they should have some active participation on social media, that some social media erases mystery. And so now there are so many internet celebrities that celebrity has gone stale because you can be famous for nothing. And it's so easy now to gain a following of 10,000 or 10K people. This is all what Emma is saying. It's fascinating because what I took from this is that Emma doesn't really have a clear definition of understanding of what she would define as influencer or what she would define as celebrity. And what I'm really hearing is a young white woman sort of have anxiety around the own progression of her success. Because Emma has reached, unreal heights of social status through being a content creator. I would actually argue that Emma Chamberlain is a celebrity, even if her celebrity is derived from her presence on the internet. She's one of the most followed people on Instagram. She has an incredibly high engagement rate. She's been invited to the Met Gala. She's been featured in Vogue magazine. She has high-end luxury sponsorships. And she does kind of hobnob with the celebrity scene of TV, film, and, the my parents are famous crowd. And I think maybe what I was hearing in that episode was her own anxiety around her position between being an influencer and then being a celebrity because she has reached these aughts of influencer status. And what does that mean for her? Like, it just sounds like she doesn't have a clear definition. Because of the route that she took in order to gain her celebrity, the parasocial relationship that she has cultivated with her audience does lack mystery, right? People can bring up where she used to live, where she went to high school, what were her habits as a teenager, because she started YouTube in her late teens. And so now, as a woman in her early 20s, she doesn't just get to come out and be this like savant young thing that's on some popular TV show or made it into the film industry and people have to figure out on Wikipedia or on Reddit threads what really is her background. No, there's copious amounts of videos that you can just pull up from YouTube to figure out a good bit of who Emma Chamberlain is, what makes her tick, and what her life experience has been. And now that she's reached this level of celebrity where your privacy is a lot more strained, and traditionally there would be certain means that celebrities would use to keep themselves excluded from the general population, that those means are a little bit more stretched thin for an Emma Chamberlain. That's one part of it. She does go on to talk about celebrities being special or godlike figures in the days of yore, and that sort of godlike reified mystique of a celebrity is also gone because now everything has been done and it's stale. So the formula of posting the most aesthetic aspects of your life are stale because now everyone's doing it and it's predictable. And she claims that she wants to see more people using social media in meaningful and impactful ways and return to living in the moment. And I would actually challenge her to step outside of her whiteness, because the entire critique that she is giving in these episodes, and along with the response that I saw on social media and particularly TikTok with young people agreeing with her point and thinking that they had some deep thought about the influencer creator economy, is that it is very much so seen through a extremely white lens. Even this idea when we're talking about the evolution and the product changes that platforms are making, and I'm going to get into that later in this video, but this call that like Instagram is dead, Facebook is dead, whatever platform is dead, this idea that influencer culture is dead takes on a very white lens that ignores how Black and other minority creators navigate and utilize these social media platforms. And I would actually challenge Emma to step outside of this very white lens and engage with a more diverse range of content creators, because I do think there are people across all the social media apps who are using them in very meaningful and deeply impactful ways. I mean, that's what my timeline looks like, but my timeline is also very Black. And so, it's kind of inherent in the work that we do. But she needs to diversify the realm of what her For You page, her Explore page, or her timeline on Twitter or Facebook, if she's still there, looks like. And that kind of is on her with who she engages with and the world that she has chosen to surround herself with and live in. Now, I do agree with Emma that because of TikTok, which became the #1 most popular app in 2021, that there is this hyper commodification, but I do not think that that is distinctly unique to TikTok. And I actually think, as much as I'm inclined to point also that a lot of the anxiety I'm hearing from Emma is grounded in the rise of TikTok and the expansion of who can become an influencer, who can become successful, and the barrier of entry being opened wide, I don't think TikTok is doing anything new or progressive. I do think it is evolving our digital social media landscape, but everything I see happening on YouTube is just a hyper extension of a problem, of an issue that already exists. TikTok is very cyclical in the landscape of social media and the evolution since the rise of YouTube in the early 2000s. It is absolutely crazy to think, but I have been a YouTube content creator for almost 14 years. That's bananas. And I'm still here. But I have seen this sort of cycle of social media that TikTok is coming in and heightening to the hyperfixation level. But I've seen this cycle happen with YouTube, with Facebook, with Instagram. And now we're in this cycle where TikTok is taking all the problems and all the issues that these previous social media apps and even a Vine had and just exacerbating them. And I think part of the reason that TikTok is still having success at this point is because it's not a US-based company. So the way in which a YouTube and therefore Google, Alphabet, a Facebook, Instagram, therefore Meta, have had to sit down at congressional hearings, have had long threads written about them in American prestige media, have had podcasts produced for YouTube of the supposed radicalization funnel that turned young white boys into neo-Nazis, for Facebook, them manipulating their analytics to create video views. But the power of their early algorithms often being the reason why they had to make broad sweeping policy changes to their platform that the content creators took the negative brunt on. TikTok is coming in and kind of replicating this because they also have a very powerful algorithm. And that algorithm has allowed a broad range of people to step in and seemingly create careers as creators. And I think with Emma Chamberlain, when she's claiming that influencer culture is dead and saying that everything is overdone, nothing is new, nobody is doing anything new, besides that being a very white lens take, I think it's also missing the mark on who gets to define themselves as influencer versus what she's really seeing is a bounty of creators. Because I personally believe that TikTok does not make influencers. TikTok makes creators. And I do think part of Emma's anxiety is watching how many creators can become popular on the app that offering much more than a sanitized white lens of day-to-day life. However, TikTok has no ad revenue platform that allows these creators who are producing copious amounts of content on the TikTok platform to build out ad revenue. And we see a lot of anxiety, particularly coming from minority creators and creators of color who are not uplifted in the same way that the Emma Chamberlain prototypes, the Addison Rays, the Charlie D'Amelios, and now the Kylan Darnells are plucked out of TikTok as soon as they get some sort of high engagement and given sponsorships and brand deals, allowing them to not rely on the TikTok Creator Fund. TikTok has a creator fund, not an ad revenue program. That means all the ad dollars that they get don't go, there's no split with the creator like there is on YouTube. YouTube, I believe, gives a 60-40 split, 50%. I've heard 50%. I was under the impression that my split with YouTube was a 60-40 split where I keep 60%, they take 40%. It might now be a 50-50 split. I'm sure things have changed. And CPMs on YouTube are a lot lower than they were in the high life of the mid 2010s. But you see a lot of anxiety from creators who are getting millions of views, millions of engagements on a weekly basis on TikTok. One popular Black creator family that I follow, the father's name is Keith, posted a TikTok talking about garnering over 26 million views. And historically, they only get paid maybe $2,000 a month from that. That's not sustainable. That doesn't allow people to create a career and truly identify themselves as full-time creators. And then it also kind of challenges how we would define if someone is an influencer or not, because you don't necessarily have to be making money off of the way you influence, but are you able to influence people in whatever direction, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's typically hawking some sort of product, selling some sort of service. Being able to monetize your audience is essentially what makes an influencer. And I think there might even be an argument that because TikTok does not allow creators to create a sustainable income off their platform, that they're just creators and they don't necessarily get to become into their era of influencer. I see so many of the crisis points that hit other platforms magnified on TikTok because of this lack of equity that the platform offers. And in some agreement with the anxiety points that Emma Chamberlain expressed, TikTok does allow anybody to become a creator. I wouldn't say it's an influencer. So it is easier on TikTok than any other app to garner an audience of at least 10,000 followers. And what you see replicated a lot is people being aghast, surprised, enamored with this idea that they can get tens of thousands of followers rather quickly on the platform, and then any monetization offers that they are getting are out of this world. Which means you see creators taking extremely low brand deal offers because they didn't believe that they could be a creator who could monetize the content they're creating in the first place. And so the creator economy has changed with the way that brands and ad revenue and money, both from agencies, from brands, from the platform themselves, are flowing to the creator. On one end, brands are often represented by ad agencies, and these agencies are offering significantly less money for content because, yes, you can what you traditionally pay $2,000 to $5,000 for on YouTube, go to TikTok and pay a creator maybe $200 for 5 videos. And the creators are taking it because it's like, oh my gosh, like $500, that seems like a lot. But I don't even think that that is sustainable on the brand side. That might be translating to visibility, but how is that translating to sales? How is that engaging with an audience? Especially when it becomes, you create this dog-eat-dog cycle where everyone's taking on whatever deal they can get because it's all about creating a volume of sponsorships in order to meet a certain level of income, rather than having the equity to produce valuable content and high quality content with the right brands that you are already using in your day-to-day life. And we've seen this. We've seen this before on YouTube. We've seen the drama and the calls and accusations against beauty gurus not acknowledging their affiliate links or the PR packages and gifting products that they were sent. We've seen the accusations of exploitation of children and the actual at congressional hearings and the New York Times and the Washington Post or whatever in the Atlantic and ProPublica writing about the dis and misinformation that is allowed to flourish on a YouTube, on a Facebook. We've heard about the calls against authenticity, and are creators just trying to sell you something, or are they being authentic about the products that they are featuring and the lifestyles they are living? We've seen this sort of drama rise and bubble over on every platform, and now it's becoming an issue on TikTok. And I think there is a question about how TikTok's algorithm accounts for views and allows any profile to accumulate followers. And it does feel like the aughts of 2010, when like the beauty influencer on YouTube was at their highest peak. But the difference is it just feels like that without the actual cash flow. Because these beauty influencers were getting flown out by the brands to like south of France, Italy. They were getting large PR packages and sponsorships, money sponsorships for their videos. And now it's kind of like, okay, no trips because of the pandemic and monkeypox, but here's a PR package and maybe $100 for 10 videos. Let's see what you can do with that. I do know that influencers who have come from YouTube and Instagram have been able to translate that same sort of income value on TikTok as they build their audiences on there. But a lot of the creators who get on the TikTok platform, and that is their first time understanding that they can be seen as a creator of value, are getting undersold, and that has greatly impacted the creator economy. Now, the other side of it is, I might be more conscious as a creator how my sponsorship offers have changed, but I'm also very acutely aware of how social media platforms have defunded very valuable creator programs as they are fixated on competing with TikTok. It's very much so heightened in my eyes because of the 2020 George Floyd death that saw a heightening call again for BLM, and all these pledges made by various platforms to fund Black creators. And almost all of those platforms have been defunded within 2 years. Instagram, most notably, is not really running any of their Black creator programs or Black creator pledges that they made in 2020. On the YouTube side, as much as people are inclined to suggest to creators that YouTube is where they need to pivot to, because YouTube is the only platform that allows you to work up to getting into their ad revenue program. Instagram nor Facebook have been very open or transparent about what requirements there are for creators to get into their revenue programs. Instagram Reels bonus is piss poor payment, and it's not clear whatever algorithm or analytics they are using to decide how much money to offer. And then on Facebook, you pretty much need to get into their very small manager program and have someone offer you access to their monetization tools, but it's very opaque and unclear about how can you build out your following on these apps in order to gain access to these monetization tools. And I know that it's very frustrating because I think it's crazy to hear people. I don't think it's crazy. I understand why people are saying that Instagram is dying and is losing out. Black millennial women are very much so on Instagram, and I've seen so many influencers be able to build out their platforms on Instagram, and even beyond influencers, my friends who own small businesses and have been able to build out their businesses, promote their brands, sell their services, really being hit hard by Instagram and Meta's fixation on competing with TikTok-like products. I do think this fixation by these apps to focus on just their biggest creators and then how to compete with TikTok and the product that TikTok is known for is really doing a disvalue to the larger creator economy. And for anyone who's looking at, part of their career or business success needs to be tied into them also becoming creators and becoming influencers, to be strategic and be sure that you do your research before you jump in, because I think that the creator economy is giving this facade of I'm successful because I have this large following. One of the other things that TikTok has hyper commodified is this idea of wealth aesthetics, of people, positioning themselves as successful creators by subletting apartments off of Airbnb, by spending money they don't have on luxury items to keep up the appearance of a lifestyle. And again, this is something that already happened on YouTube. This is something that's already happened on Instagram. Like, these scenarios have already combusted and spilled over, and people have already learned from them. And TikTok is just replicating these same cycles. And it'll be interesting to see what creators really get to survive in the next 5 years. For me to have survived on this platform and still get a decent amount of engagement and still have people subscribing and watching my videos, sure, I don't have a significant amount of subscribers. Like, I'm not in the 1 million range, but it's when I think about being able to collaborate with someone like a Jessica Lee and learning so much from her and understanding that I don't, or even an Akila, obviously, that in order to sustain on the platform, in order to make a full-time living, I don't need to be fixated on this idea of always doing whatever trends are most popular on the platform to gain a larger audience. I can focus on my niche and build out on my strengths there and find a way to diversify my income in an ethical manner. And that is what allowed me to sustain. A lot of the work I do has NDAs, and y'all will never know about it. I see a lot of creators reach a very early death by trying to feed into, one, the aesthetics, and two, the trends that the platforms are promulgating. But especially with TikTok, where you don't know what's powering its algorithm. You don't know how the platform is working. It is a very opaque system. And I honestly believe that TikTok doesn't have much policy on anything. That's why one day you can have a account with 1 million followers and the next day it can disappear and be banned. And there's no real appeal policy. There's no one for you to reach out. The only thing you can do is get back on TikTok and complain about it. There's no real pressure point to put on the app, that you don't know how this app is really maneuvering to sell you this idea that this is what's actually going to work on the app. There's so many accounts there that are like, yes, this is a new trend. This is how you build an audience. Let me sell you a course. Yeah. Don't get got on that at all. All these social media platforms are operated by large corporations, and none of them truly care about the creator. All of them are attempting to produce products that compete with TikTok rather than focusing on the strength of the product that pull consumers in. Instagram was known for photos and connections, YouTube for long format video and education, Facebook for community-centric gathering, groups, events, timeline, and they've all seemingly abandoned their strengths to put out short video content, and it's just a clusterfuck. It's just a reposting of other people's content to keep up with the times. And unfortunately, it's just how capitalism functions. I do think maybe Emma's thought that influencer culture is dying is more or less the cycle of who loses when these corporations make these changes. And unfortunately, it mostly is creators of color and creators that exist within minority communities and intersections. You're queer, you're Latinx, you're Black, you're Indigenous. Creators are really the ones who take the biggest hits when these policy changes happen. Collectively, there is sort of this creator understanding that another shift is on the horizon and bracing ourselves for how that's going to negatively impact our income. But I don't think at this point that influencer culture is ever truly going to die. I think some people just have anxiety over how they're going to sustain their income and their own position within the influencer landscape. That's all I got for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Audible for sponsoring. Don't forget, if you haven't tried out Audible yet, use my link audible.com/Julesy or text Julesy to 500. Get your first month free on the app. And don't skedaddle without watching another one of my videos. I always come with a thought, the nuance. So make sure to click that video. Click that video on this end cap. If you made it this far, go ahead, watch another video. You know you like it, you know you love it, and hit that subscribe button. And make sure you join the family. I'll see you on the other side. Deuces!